However, this time around, she simply couldn't keep the lower back anymore. Fans and the media were very concerned, approximately Joyce suspiciously, after she was located searching extraordinarily concerned at a recent church event. What deep and dark secrets and techniques are troubling a woman who has spent the bulk of her adult life looking to join people to God? You see, Joyce Meyer has impacted hundreds of thousands of lives around this sector through her teachings, books, meetings, and philanthropy. She has been listed in Time magazine's 25 most influential evangelicals in America and is generally referred to as America's maximum famous girl minister. Despite reaching all this, Joyce has been constantly subjected to severe criticisms and accusations. After a long time of staying quiet, Joyce has subsequently damaged her silence on the accusations. What arguable rumors are flying round approximately Joyce and her ministry? Most importantly, what does she have to mention approximately all this? Rumors and controversies. One of the maximum common criticisms levied in opposition to Joyce Meyer and her ministry is the immoderate opulence of her way of life. Joyce currently owns numerous expensive houses and travels in a lavish private jet. She says the $10 million, her husband's $107,000 Silver Brake Mercedes sedan, her $2 million domestic, and homes worth another $2 million for her 4 youngsters are directly from the hand of God. At more than 1,000 homes, she's a Concord-driven lady with 26-degree lakes who reportedly sleeps like 27 in her own. Speaking to an Argot audience in Detroit, She-Wall Watchers, a watchdog institution that video display units the price range of huge Christian organizations known as at the Internal Revenue Service to research Meyer and 6 different TV preachers to discover whether their tax-exempt status must be revoked. Finally, Joyce has a reply for the critics. She has defended herself by announcing that each one her monetary success stems from God through her ebook income, which can be cut loose the ministry's income. Joyce insists that there may be actually no want to make an apology for being blessed, and has pointed to the reality that the simplest motive why the critics are so worried about her economic success is because she's a minister of the gospel. She has soon stated, "You may be a busy man here in St. Louis, and those assume the more you've got the extra exquisite it's far. But in case you're a preacher, then all the unexpected will become a trouble." But this is not the handiest accusation that has been raised against Joyce. There's more, and the subsequent one is even greater, debatable. In 2009, it became introduced that Joyce Meyer Ministries obtained accreditation from the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability. Once they met the requirements of responsible stewardship, which may be attained after reviewing ministry's financial accountability, transparency, board governance, and fundraising practices. Another profound complaint that Joyce Meyer has been confronted with is the accusation of propagating the prosperity gospel, a theological belief that God rewards faithfulness with fitness, wealth, and fulfillment. Critics argue that this teaching oversimplifies Christian struggling. Quote, "There's nowhere inside the Bible wherein we are promised as a way to in no way have any trouble. I don't care how a whole lot of faith you have, you're not going to avoid ever having problem on your existence." She ended the video via announcing, "Jesus stated, within the global there could be tribulation. However, cheer up. I have triumph over the sector." Right underneath the post, which went viral, one Instagram user, Milestone, commented at the video pronouncing, "Another person known as pleasing to the potter wrote, 'What in great God we serve. I'm glad to look him at paintings right here.'" Stated, "Here I am, an ex-housewife from Fenton with a 12th grade training. How should each person look at this and spot something other than God? If you live for your religion, you are going to get paid. I'm dwelling now in my reward. While that is real, her journey to the top become a ways from smooth. As a dependent truth, Joyce's beyond is one that is very painful and harrowing. Joyce became born in 1943, a few years before World War II. When the conflict commenced, her father enlisted inside the Navy to enroll in the combat enforcers. Unfortunately, this decision changed his entire life and that of Joyce. By the time he were given return from the warfare, he turned into a totally distinctive person. He started to battle with his feelings and conduct. It were given so horrific that he even started to maltreat Joyce. Sharing her revel in an interview, she said, "My father turned into an average, controlling, and manipulative character for most of his existence. He became unpredictable and unstable. As an end result, the ecosystem of our home turned into supercharged with fear, because you by no means knew if what you did might make him mad or not. We always did what he wanted to do whilst he desired to do it. We watched what he wanted to look at the television, went to bed whilst he went to bed, were given up whilst he got up, and ate the food he wanted us to consume. Everything in our home became decided by his moods and what he wanted." Joyce's mother, on the other hand, could barely assist the scenario due to the fact, even as she changed into gift inside the domestic, she was regularly emotionally remote and not able to provide the nurturing and protection Joyce wanted for the duration of her formative years. According to Joyce, she felt worse due to the fact, although her mother became aware about the situation, she selected to remain silent just so she could prioritize the own family's stability over her daughter's truth. This maltreatment caused Joyce having to address emotions of shame, guilt, and unworthiness, and turned it into something correct. "He has taken away my shame and given me a double praise." Joyce uses this terrible revel in often to train and is an advice for forgiveness. She says that so many people who have been hurt just want to understand that someone else has made it via their struggles, and that is enough to offer them hope. But even after leaving her dad and mom house at 18, the poor stories didn't give up right away. Shortly after her senior 12 months of excessive faculty, Joyce fell in love and married an elementine automobile salesman. This choice was truly a mistake, prompted through an absence of steerage as well as her preference to break out her afflicted existence and seek stability. Unfortunately, the marriage became out to be horrible. In truth, it had become a supply of even greater pain and trouble for Joyce. Her ex-husband, whose identification she has refused to publicly disclose, changed into very mean and controlling. She as soon as discovered that he regularly cheated on her and even persuaded her to thieve payroll exams from her corporation. And while she did, they used the money to go on a holiday to California. That's not all. He additionally derived joy from humiliating her and making her existence a residing hell. Thankfully, the marriage handies lasted 5 years, and after that she began to painting's various unusual jobs, suffering to make ends meet and discover a experience of root. At this point, Joyce felt very angry and bitter, approximately her beyond. She even began frequenting local bars because it turned into quite hard to appearance past a sample of ache and disappointment in her existence. After her divorce, Joyce attempted to focus on rebuilding her lifestyles, and in 1967 she met Dave Meyer, a veteran of the United States Army Engineering Corps. They fell in love, and this relationship became a turning point for Joyce. Dave supplied her with love, balance, assist, and all the tremendous emotions she had never skilled earlier then. He requested her to marry him after 5 dates. And Joyce, despite the fact that skeptical at the beginning, ultimately agreed. In her book, Beauty for Ashes, she shared the experience, saying, "For my element, I absolutely did now not understand what love became, and become now not keen to get concerned with every other guy. However, because things have been getting even worse at home, and in view that I changed into living in overall panic all the time, I determined that something would be better than what I changed into going through in the meanwhile." Joyce's marriage to Dave didn't clear up all her issues as she had hoped, although. You see, despite the fact that she had become a believer of Christ as a child, after you have married to Dave, He started out prompting her to wait church. Joyce truly didn't want to, due to the fact she had strayed and turned into suffering with anger, worry, and sadness that stemmed from her painful past. Joyce subsequently gave in, and slowly she began to heal and reconnect with God, and this had splendid effects on her marriage to Dave. Speaking to Marriage Partnership about how she eventually determined pleasure in her life and in her marriage to Dave, she stated, "When you get married, you are speculated to love every other. But if a person never accepts God's love and learns a way to take delivery of herself, then they do not truly have whatever to give away. It's the same with pleasure in marriage. I cannot have pleasure in my courting with Dave if I don't have joy inside myself." One of the finest matters that helped my marriage turned into studying the way to be given, love, and be content material with myself. It changed into during the phase of her existence that Joyce heard God for the primary time and started building the muse of what all of us recognize because the Joyce Meyer Ministries. The question is, how did it start? And how did Joyce go from enduring one of these tragic pasts to turning into one of the most influential evangelical figures inside the world? And what different heartbreaking accusations has she needed to undergo? Joyce Meyer Ministries. Joyce's journey in the faith started one morning in 1976 at some stage in an intense prayer at the same time as writing to paintings. Although she had obtained Christ whilst she turned into just 9 years antique, she in no way attended church or had any information on how to move about building a courting with God. This truth, coupled with the numerous emotional traumas she needed to address as an infant, left her careworn. After her marriage to Dave, she discovered that she commenced to love God more and study the Bible a little bit every day. However, it became achieved greater out of duty than out of really looking to examine something. Joyce also discovered that despite the fact that she turned into actively concerned in church paintings and telling humans approximately Jesus, she did not have sufficient power in her existence to behave like him at home. And that day in my vehicle, God touched me. I have become so very acutely aware about not vest the presence of God, but the goodness of God. And I in reality felt like any person took my head off and stuffed me with liquid love and placed my head back on and became me loose. After that day, Joyce commenced main and early morning Bible elegance at a nearby cafeteria and became energetic in Life Christian Center, a charismatic church in Fenton. Within a few years, she had become the church's partner pastor, and the church became one of the leading charismatic church buildings inside the place, in large part because of her recognition as a Bible teacher. That's now not all. She quickly began airing a day-by-day 15-minute radio broadcast on a St. Louis radio station. And in 1985, she resigned as accomplice pastor and based her very own ministry, which she, to begin with, called Life Within the Word. She additionally started airing her very personal radio show on 6 different stations from Chicago to Kansas City. After some time, her husband Dave suggested beginning a TV ministry, and she or he agreed. She commenced her outreach program, now referred to as Enjoying Everyday Life, and thus far this system continues to be on air. Enjoying Everyday Life is a special application that targets to attain out to each Christians and non-Christians, teaching them the way to make every day higher with the aid of applying biblical concepts to every interest. The program is broadcast in over 100 languages and reaches thousands and thousands of visitors in extra than 150 countries. Apart from this system, Joyce also hosts numerous podcasts and stocks content material on numerous social media platforms, just to make certain that her teachings are accessible every time and anywhere. She has also authored over 130 books, with many becoming great dealers. In reality, in 2002, mainstream writer Hachette Book Group paid her over $10 million for the rights to her backlist catalog of independently released books. Joyce is also a philanthropist. She set up Hand of Hope, a humanitarian arm of Joyce Meyer Ministries which affords meals, smooth water, hospital therapy, and catastrophe alleviation to humans in need. They even have a robust jail outreach program that offers inmates with religious resources and assist. Despite her reputation and great contributions to the gospel community, Joyce Meyer stays a polarizing discern within the Christian network. And this explains her concentrated positions in the Christian network. Although a few evangelical leaders criticize her for emphasizing self-assist concepts over core theological doctrines, labeling her teachings as watered-down Christianity, others respect her cognizance on realistic faith and her capacity to hook up with normal believers.